Hello, this is AL-KUWARI. Today I'll be presenting the time series technical assignment presentation. To begin with is the actual personal consumption expenditure counts. The real disposable personal income and income in the United States downloaded from the Federal Reserve Economic Data website range from 1960 to 2020. A plot for this data was done using the time series plot to see their behavior over time. Both series follow similar dynamic from this plot and hence can be integrated. However, at the same time there were some deviations around 2020 that might allow this relationship. Now therefore a statistical test to check for integration was done. On this slide we can see a summarized time series for cones and income through observation. First, within the entire period, the movement of those two series are co-integrated well. The resemblance of this visual trend between these series suggested as a possibility of integration. Nevertheless, there is a shift in the direction of change from 2020 onwards, as seen on the graph below. This may imply that the relationship between two variables weakened. To check whether these variables are integrated, the unit root test, augmented Dickey-Fuller tests, and Phillips-Perron test were done. This slide presents the results of unit root test. The ADF and the PP test evidence show that the variables cones and income are integrated into order 1 or I1. Hence, taking first order difference of these variables renders them stationary because both series are I1. One can conduct a Johannessen integration test to see if the two series have a long-run equilibrium relationship. The result of this integration test show there is no integration between the two variables as clearly seen from the graph. These time series have a potential to be integrated as they move with a very similar dynamic over the considered period. Therefore, there may be a stationary linear combination of these series. For example, the difference between the variables. At the same time, the difference in the direction of change are seen around 2020, which may lead to the absence of integration. To evaluate the order of integration of the variables, we conduct unit root test, augmented Dickey-Fuller test, and Phillips-Perron test. As we can see, the findings describe the Johnson co-integrated test, the hypothesis for no co-integrated between cones and income for the result of both tests, race and max eventual at p equal 0.05 is not rejected. The critical value of both tests would have given that result claims on one fails to reject the null hypothesis of no integration. Consequently, despite the visibly comparable trends, these two variables have no stable long-run relation. Thus, an error correction model was used to consider the short-run dynamic and relationship among these variables. As we can see, the result of two diagnostic tests for our ECM, first through the Piroch-Godfrey serial correlation LM test, and check whether serial correlation exists on the residual, and find that there is a significant serial correlation at two legs. That would support the fact that something very important has been omitted from the model, and residuals are not independent through the time. Secondly, the white heterozygosity test shows heterozygosity in the residuals. The error variance is not constant. All these problems suggest that through the ECM catches, the relationships, correlation, and heterozygous issue must be addressed to improve it. Following that is the Ramsey reset test for the misspecification, which does indicate this model might be afflicted with some form of misspecification, and that perhaps with other variables or nonlinear terms, one might achieve better explanation of variation on this consumption series. The square terms of the fitted values in the regression have proved significant, showing that the potential for functional form of improvement on the model specification. Although the model explains part of the variation in consumption, it's clear that further work is needed both on specification and residual issue. The result showed significant inverse association between the difference in income and consumption. The model explains about 45.36% of the variability in consumption based on its association with income. There is some mild positive autocorrelation in the resilience, but still in the acceptable range. The speed of adjustment is 8.2% per quarter, and the consumption income relation is stable. Any short-term deviation from equilibrium are corrected over time. The LM test shows a series correlation on the resilience. This may undermine the validity of the model. The result of White's test indicate heterogeneity of the resilience according to Ramsey's test. There might be a misspecification in this model. Obviously, the variation in consumption cannot be explained only by the level of income alone. Here we can see that the slide focuses on the exchange rate of EUR versus the USD and the GTB versus the USD. The exchange rate are downloaded from investing.com and plotted to see if configuration is possible. Notice on this plot that the time series for both EUR and GPB track each other very well. Hence, a long-run relationship may exist between the two series. The unit root test on the series of EUR and GPB to prove they are I1. The test confirm they are I1, which lead to test configuration. Finally, in this slide, the configuration for the exchange rate and GBP is conducted using the Engel-Gregula two-step configuration test. From the test result, either of the two series fail to reject the null hypothesis of no configuration. The two series are not configurated during the sample period from 2010 to 2020. Go ahead and conduct an ECM in order to study the short-run dynamic between the two series. From the result of the ECM, the relation between EUR and GBP exchange rate is rather weak. The adjustment to deviation from the long-run equilibrium go very low. The rates adjust slowly to deviations from long-run equilibrium. The changes on the past value of these exchange rates do not significantly influence the future behavior of the GBP to US dollar exchange rate. The R squared value is very low, meaning that the model does not explain the sufficient variation in the responsive variable. However, the significance of the ECM -1 term show that there is a long-run relationship between the exchange rate, but this relationship is slow to correct itself when any kind of diversion occur on the market.